I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. At least 2 people are dead after days of heavy rain. The first death was reported in the Hill Country. Authorities say the victim was recovered near Center Point, but the person's identity has not been released. Today, Governor Abbott says the person killed was not a camper and that all Hill Country camps are safe. Meantime, the governor is urging residents in impacted areas to move to higher ground. So far, Texas game wardens alone have rescued nearly 150 people from flash flooding.
The people who can do the most to save lives are our fellow Texans. There's a very simple saying that must be heeded, and that is, turn around, don't drown. There are lives lost every year in flooding situations where people drive into rising waters. Do not risk your own life.
Officials in Uvalde are also confirming the death of 1 man in the floods. Local leaders there are still monitoring conditions. Several residents in Bernie are dealing with the aftermath of flash flooding along Cibolo Creek. An apartment complex off Hirsch Road near River Road, just a 5-minute walk from the creek, saw significant flooding. Multiple vehicles were damaged and 1 resident had to evacuate her apartment. Reporter Troy Kless has the story.
Downstream from Cibolo Creek in Bernie is where Mary Uresti and her husband live. This apartment complex with debris scattered around, caked onto the concrete and nearby buildings.
Stressed, stressed out. I'm exhausted.
This is what the parking lot at the complex looked like Wednesday, forcing Uresti and her husband to evacuate.
My husband and I, luckily he was home, we grabbed our things and we took our stuff up to the 3rd floor. Just a couple of things that we were going to need. We weren't sure how long it would take.
This is what her apartment sounds like now, with multiple machines blasting air to dry the unit off. Joshua Clayton cleaning out his family's vehicles.
We just had a lot of drainage issues. Everything kind of just flowed in. The stream that's back here just rose substantially, and all of that water just kind of eventually piled up in one location, and our cars were just unfortunately parked right in the middle of it.
He says the flooding did not go down for 4 to 5 hours, and eventually he pushed his SUV and his wife's vehicle out of the water.
You can see kind of like all the dust and like the dirty water debris that like kind of rose. There was water in the cup holders that I vacuumed out.
We emailed the complex management for a statement and submitted the request over the phone. Meanwhile, residents like Uresti continue cleaning up, still in awe of what they experienced due to this creek flowing through town.
Kind of made it a little bit more worrisome, you know, especially because we saw it filling up really quick here. And then, like I mentioned, this street here was flowing like a river.
First responders are coordinating rescue and response efforts as flooding along the Guadalupe River continues. Bella Papaduke has a look at conditions.
I'm at the Hill Country Youth Event Center, one of the main EMS staging areas in Kerr County right now. This was also one of the main staging areas during the July 4th floods last year. We've seen dozens of other agencies from across the state deployed here, fire trucks, ambulance, rescue boats, law enforcement from, like I said, across the state, Marble Falls, South Montgomery, Crosby, and more. We've also seen a couple helicopters land in the area, bringing people back and forth from rescues. And we're told that, again, this is one of the main staging areas in Kerr County. It's really where they're gathering to make sure all the rescuers are okay as well. And as of Thursday early afternoon, Texas has 1,300 active personnel engaged in rescues that have made 70 rescues already. Kerr County Sheriff's Office has confirmed all campers are safe right now. However, Governor Abbott said 1 person died in the floods, but did not provide additional details at this time as of early Thursday afternoon. Kerr County has opened 3 shelters at Calvary Temple, City West Church, and Center Point ISD Gymnasium. The sheriff says traveling through this area is still hazardous because of debris and flooding on the roads. So if you have to travel this way, make sure to be extra safe. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Bella Papaduke, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
Here's a look at today's headlines across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. Mourners gathered at a Southeast Houston chapel Thursday to pay their respects to Lorenzo Salgado. The public viewing coming 9 days after the undocumented immigrant was killed by ICE agents in the East End. We spoke with the immigration rights group Fiel, who explained why this event is important for the community.
Absolutely important, because I think a lot of people are grieving. I've heard from a lot of people that are saying, this could be my tío, this could be my dad, this could be, any member in the community, and they really have internalized to feel like this is a part of our family.
Though it was a public viewing, the family asked the media to stay outside of the funeral home. We know the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, took pictures of the crowd for the family to have. Questions continue to mount over the federal investigation of Salgado's death. Our Orko Manna spoke one-on-one with the Harris County District Attorney.
9 days after an ICE agent shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado, the memorial in his honor on Canal Street in Houston is still growing. But so are questions about the federal investigation, including the FBI search of Salgado's van yesterday. KHOU 11 was the first to share that the probable cause for the search warrant pointed to possible controlled substances in the vehicle. Photos show bags which the FBI believes contained a white, crystal-like substance consistent with meth. I spoke one-on-one with Harris County District Attorney Sean Tier about that.
The FBI claims they believe they found drugs in the van. Do you believe that?
No. Based on everything that we know about the individuals in that van, especially Mr. Salgado and his brother, we don't believe that there are drugs in that van at all. Now, we will wait for final confirmation, but if it turns out to be what we believe not to be drugs, then I think that the federal government's going to have a lot of explaining to do about why they decided to unseal a search warrant completely against their own normal practices in cases like this.
Tier says his office believes they know what was in those bags, but did not specify. However, the attorney for Victor Salgado, Lorenzo Salgado's brother, who was in the van last Tuesday, says it was nothing nefarious.
We were able to figure out what that substance was, which was crystallized salt, used as an electrolyte. It was a construction van. They were construction workers. They were out in the Texas heat, and Lorenzo would put in water, add some lemon, and that's how he would stay hydrated.
Regardless of the contents of those bags, Tier says that should not be the focus.
Do you believe that has anything to do with the shooting death investigation?
No, and in fact, it doesn't. This is a red herring. It has no bearing on the shooting investigation, which is what the community and this office is concerned about.
As the DA's office does its own independent investigation, Tier tells me he has still not heard from the Department of Homeland Security, which is leading the federal probe. Tier says that, plus the FBI search warrant, is cause for concern.
Do you have faith in the federal investigation at this point?
I have faith in our local FBI. Who I don't trust and what I am concerned about are the people that are above them, the people in Washington, D.C., the people that have an agenda that has been spoken about. And so that's what makes me concerned about this entirety on the federal side of the investigation. It's why we started our own independent investigation the day of the shooting.
Orko Manna talking with the Harris County DA. Investigators in Cypress trying to figure out what led to a shooting inside a busy Kroger grocery store. Law enforcement tells us 2 men opened fire. Both were hit and taken to a hospital in critical condition. Matt Doherty with the latest.
There's still a pretty heavy law enforcement presence, as you can see from what's behind me. Investigators say they swept the store 4 times tonight to make sure they hadn't missed somebody else who may have been hurt. It was a typical Wednesday afternoon in Cypress, with neighbors shopping for groceries. Madge says he dropped by the Kroger to get some snacks. For him and the other shoppers, the mood quickly changed.
I heard 2 people arguing, and next thing you know, I heard some shots go off.
Pop, pop, pop. And I just turned around and ran the opposite direction of the gunfire.
As soon as you heard the shots go off, everybody started running around and kind of trampling over each other. So it's kind of scary,
Old ladies trying to scramble. There were terrified kids, people pulling up in the parking lot, and I was just yelling at them, active gunmen, don't go in there.
Within minutes, officers arrived.
All of them were just jumping out of the car and running straight into the man. There was no hesitation.
The Precinct 4 Constable's office says when deputies showed up, they encountered a man who'd been shot in the neck coming out of the front door. Investigators now believe he is the suspect. Inside, deputies say was another man who'd been shot several more times by the suspect.
We can confirm there's 2 individuals that have been shot. They both have been transported to local hospitals. They are going to be in critical condition.
Investigators say they believe the 2 men were the only ones involved in the shooting, and that the violence likely stemmed from a domestic disturbance between the two. In a statement from Kroger this evening, the company says the Cypress store will remain closed while the investigation continues, and that counseling services are available for employees. Luckily, nobody else was hurt.
Matt Doherty reporting there. KHOU 11 News has learned Houston healthcare organizations have received a notice about 2 confirmed cases of measles involving people who traveled through Bush Airport and were infectious at the time. Jason Miles has more.
The Houston Health Department has not made this information available to the general public, but we got it from one of the entities who received the health department's notice and shared it with us. The highly airborne measles virus is getting new attention in Houston after 2 confirmed cases were detected in people who traveled through Bush Airport during their infectious period. The Houston Health Department issued this notice yesterday to various healthcare organizations, including hospitals. Though it's important to keep in mind, it states there are no confirmed measles cases in Houston residents.
We've been having a major measles outbreak for the last 2 years.
Infectious disease expert Pedro Piedro with the Baylor College of Medicine says while this may not rise to outbreak status, airports are the kinds of environments where the virus can easily spread.
Just think about that. You have hundreds or thousands of individuals going through an airport in all different directions. And so maybe a few may get exposed and infected and send it to wherever they come from.
So far, Houston Health has provided no additional information about the cases or why the information was not more widely shared. But in its notice, it says healthcare providers should be on alert for people with potential symptoms. Meanwhile, experts like Dr. Piedra say the best defense remains being vaccinated.
With decreasing vaccine coverage, things that were vaccine preventable become a concern, and measles is one of those.
Keep in mind, millions of people recently traveled through Houston airports for FIFA World Cup. So far, Houston Airports has not commented on this measles situation, and multiple public health agencies deferred back to Houston Health. In the medical center area, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
That is a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
Hello, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jesse Hawila with WFAA in Dallas. And as we take a look at the headlines across the state, as we approach the weekend, more rain and thunderstorms for parts of the state, especially parts of central Texas, who absolutely do not need any more rain. It's just been devastating flooding in parts of central and south Texas. There is still some heavy rain. We start to see less coverage on Saturday, and on Sunday, the heat starts to build back across the state as high pressure builds back in. You'll start to see more triple digits showing up before the weekend is over. Now, as we take a look at the forecast from Amarillo down to Austin, you'll still see the scattered shower and storm chances lingering for parts of central and south Texas. Temperatures pretty close to normal for this time of the year, lots of 90s. El Paso has a little chance for some showers and thunderstorms this weekend. Scattered thunderstorms near Lubbock at Saturday's high, 89 degrees. See how the numbers start going up? See if you follow any of these cities here, temperatures start going up. The exception would be far west Texas. A little dip with the chance of rain. So we'll have that chance for some pockets of heavy rain again throughout Friday afternoon, even into the evening. You still see that swirl in the atmosphere there. There's that low that has not moved and has brought the flooding with tons of Gulf moisture spilling in. That's where we've seen these flooding concerns for parts of central Texas. Some of that rain that you see popping up here, that will again be heavy. So we're not done with the flash flooding concerns just yet. As we get into the weekend, the concerns will ease a little bit. We're not completely done, but we'll start to see more scattered activity a little bit farther west. Okay, out toward El Paso, the Big Bend, up to Midland and Lubbock, some scattered thunderstorms in that direction. Additional scattered rain is possible in parts of central Texas even on Sunday. See how the rain at this point, it looks to be a little bit farther to the west than where all the major flooding has occurred. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Otherwise, as we get to the end of the weekend, we'll start to see the return of heat. Now, looking at the drought monitor, this is the latest that has come out. You still see some pockets of drought in East Texas. I think the most significant drought that doesn't show any signs of improving anytime soon is still in the Panhandle. That's where you have moderate, severe, and even pockets of extreme drought. That's where the conditions are the worst there. And as we look over the next 7 days, the rainfall totals, hardly anything in the Panhandle. Much of what you see in North Texas and East Texas, that's really through the weekend. Then the rain chances will shut down. Additional 1 to 3 plus inches of rain in areas that absolutely don't need another drop. There's still a chance for some significant totals of rain between San Antonio and Midland, parts of Central Texas. You get farther to the west, you'll still see some rain out in West Texas. El Paso, Alpine could see some heavy rain there. Along the coast, not much, maybe 1/10 to 1/2 inch in some spots that find themselves under a thunderstorm or two, but otherwise, much of the rain stays in the central part of the state. So the forecast, West Texas, you see the heat? Not that bad for West Texas in the middle of July. I mean, not uncommon for the state to start seeing big stretches of triple digits of 100 to 105, upper 80s, low 90s. It's really not too bad for this time of the year. 92 for Lubbock on Sunday, Midland 90 degrees, 88 degrees on Saturday. Central Texas, you can see the temperatures climbing back to 96 in Waco on Sunday, 94 in Austin. And, if we were to extend this forecast farther out into next week, triple digits are likely for much of Central Texas, parts of West Texas, North Texas. The heat is starting to build. South Texas, you see the hint of that. Look at Laredo, Saturday, Sunday, 104 to 106. We'll see the heat building in San Antonio as well, back to 92 on Sunday. North Texas, middle 90s for the weekend. Looks dry this weekend. Friday, a little chance for a shower or thunderstorm out toward DFW. Weatherford and Denton. East Texas, we'll go Houston, Beaumont, Tyler. Gets hotter by the end of the weekend. Highs in the mid-90s. Just a stray shower or thunderstorm would be possible. Then for the Valley, it's hot. McAllen, 100 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 101 to 103. Brownsville, upper 90s. It's dry in Brownsville. It's windy in Mission on Friday with triple-digit heat likely through the weekend. Again, the heat does start to build as rain chances begin to dissipate. Obviously, we've had the devastating flooding in parts of the state, so it's good to see some of the rain taking a bit of a pause, but that does come with some heat by the end of the weekend.
I'm Cynthia Izaguirre, and here are your headlines from North Texas. Some parents are demanding criminal charges after their children were taped to their desks at a daycare. Brittany Costello just spoke with a mom in Fort Worth who believes her toddler was traumatized by what happened.
Tierra Encantada is a Spanish immersion daycare off Camp Bowie in Fort Worth. Missy Bowie's almost 2-year-old Scotty was an infant when she was enrolled.
She always did great at the school, which
is why she was surprised when she got a call at the end of June.
The assistant director at the time told me that earlier that day it was caught on video that she was abused and neglected along with a few other students.
These are photos showing her child and a few others strapped to their chairs with blue painter's tape. The center confirms it was put on by their teacher.
In the video, I mean, she is going around and around and around at least 4 times.
In a statement, Tierra Encantada called the restraints a makeshift seatbelt for meal and activity time. They say it was not approved, nor did it comply with policies. A spokesperson with the corporate office says the 2 employees were fired. They say they invited law enforcement to review the footage, but they claim a determination was made there was no intent to harm. Bowie admits the young children were strangely calm, even compliant in the video she saw.
She approaches with the tape and he immediately lifts up his shirt. So that tells us this isn't the first time this has happened.
As for safety, Bowie says the chairs are inches off the ground.
Let's call it what it is, and that's abuse. It's not anything other than that.
She says her daughter is now refusing her high chair seatbelt, something she thought was a phase, but now believes is a response.
I just felt so angry for my daughter.
The daycare showed her just 2 videos. She believes there are many more.
We want to see the footage. We want to see everything.
Do you believe they would have had to hold your daughter down?
Oh, 1,000%.
The Department of Family and Protective Services is investigating. In Fort Worth, I'm Brittany Costello.
Yellow back in court. The Dallas rapper's real name is Marquise Conway, and he's accused of orchestrating the murder for hire of fellow rapper Mo3 6 years ago. A judge in Dallas is deciding if rap lyrics can help prove a murder case or unfairly prejudice a jury. Senior investigative reporter Tanya Iser is covering the local rapper's murder case.
Dallas rapper Yella Beezy was back in court Thursday as his attorneys tried to prevent prosecutors from using several rap songs in his upcoming capital murder trial. Yella Beezy, whose real name is Marquise Conway, is accused of hiring a hitman to kill fellow Dallas rapper Mo3 in 2020. He has pleaded not guilty. The defense called nationally recognized rap expert Dr. Eric Nielsen, who testified gangsta rap often relies on fictional personas, exaggerated stories, and public feuds that shouldn't be mistaken for real-life confessions.
If you don't have any training in linguistics, literary analysis, music, musicology, if you don't have any of that training, you really don't have any business interpreting lyrics. And the danger, of course, is that you're going to provide an interpretation that is almost certainly going to be inaccurate, maybe dead wrong. And the danger, of course, is that that type of testimony could lead to a conviction of somebody who is not guilty.
Prosecutors responded by calling Dallas Police Detective Eric Barnes. Barnes testified investigators don't rely on rap lyrics alone. He also testified about what prosecutors contend was a years-long feud involving Conway. Prosecutors played Conway's recorded interview with Louisville police after he survived a 2018 drive-by shooting. Barnes testified investigators determined the suspected getaway vehicle in that shooting, a Ford minivan, was registered to an associate of Mo3. This hearing is scheduled to resume tomorrow morning as we await a ruling from the judge about whether or not these rap songs can be used in Conway's trial, which could begin as soon as next month. In Dallas, I'm Tanya Iser.
The next time your vacation or business takes you through DFW Airport, you may not recognize one of its busiest terminals. American Airlines is showing off a major makeover, years in the making, as it continues a massive transformation of Terminal C. Transportation reporter Janelle Fort shows us.
All right, Jim, don't take us to the nice parts yet.
We won't.
That's how we started our tour with American Airlines DFW Hub VP Jim Moses. Not with the shiny and new, but in the part of Terminal C they're now leaving behind.
We just recently closed gate C2 through C7.
If you've flown through DFW Airport any time over the past 52 years,
this is truly American's workhorse terminal.
Chances are you've passed through here.
If this terminal were its own airport, it would be American Airlines' 5th largest hub.
And in many spots,
these floors were actually put in before customers had roller back.
The terminal is showing its age.
While we have expanded and refurbished it over the years, it has been long overdue for a total reconstruction.
The overhaul started in 2021. The new high C gates opened the next year, and now the new C pier is ready. Okay, so what is the first thing that people say when they walk in here?
Like, wow, it's so new, it's so refreshing, it's such a complete contrast.
Longtime customers fly out of here pretty frequently.
Pretty frequently.
We'll confirm it too.
I was like, where am I?
The upgrades are hard to miss. Power at every seat, electronic boarding gates, bigger windows, and the removal of more than 400 columns.
There's more room to walk. So people can kind of spread out a little bit. Signage is good. They did a really good job.
The glow up comes during one of DFW's busiest years yet, with record travel and World Cup visitors.
We knew this was a big summer in the DFW airport. We had to get ready.
And more's on the way.
We look forward to opening 10 new gates in Terminal A. And then by next year, we start to open up the first phase of Terminal F.
But for now, these new gates offer a preview of where DFW is headed next. At DFW Airport, I'm Janelle Ford.
You're about to meet a woman who couldn't imagine life without soccer. Cole Sullivan shows us how she found her way back to the game.
Some amazing memories growing up.
When sport becomes life,
that was pretty special.
There's no way to let go.
It reminds me of the good times I had.
Even when life tries to force you.
He looked at me and said, if you don't stop playing, you're going to end up in a wheelchair by the time you're 30.
For Shannon Wilson.
And I beat that by 5 years.
Soccer was her world. Revisiting the past.
This is my first soccer team.
brings back memories.
I'm one in the hideous pink shorts and the hideous haircut.
She played from when she started walking.
I wasn't a superstar, but I wasn't half bad.
Until she couldn't anymore.
And it took 6 years to get my diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder.
Life sidelined her soccer and her purpose.
I was spiraling. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Until...
what the heck is this?
Ready? One day, let's do it. She found a way to play.
Mine.
Power Soccer, a wheelchair league with a North Texas team.
Mine!
This team is called North Texas Fully Charged. Good job, Kaden. Good job, Kaden.
Led by Coach Joseph Villegas.
So we just need to adjust the headrest. Once that ball is rolling, they're independent. They're passing the ball, their skills is what comes to play.
Yeah.
Go.
The competition is where Wilson thrives.
Your ball.
And playing here has given her new purpose.
Ole.
Get it out. Oh, no.
Her family sees it.
She becomes bubbly. And without that, it was like, well, let's get through the day.
She sees it too.
For once, I didn't feel like I stood out like a sore thumb. I just kind of melded in. There you go.
Soccer can still be her life.
Go, girl.
On a team of players.
Mine!
Who love it as much as she does.
Go.
In Carrollton.
My man. Yeah.
I'm Cole Sullivan.
That was perfect.
Anything is possible. And those are your headlines from North Texas.
Hello from Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. There is a growing chance people who drive Cap Metro buses could go on strike. The union representing them and the company contracted to run the buses are currently bargaining. If a deal isn't reached soon, the drivers could park and walk off the job. KVU's Jose Alonso explains what that means for thousands of Cap Metro riders.
The men and women who steer Capital Metro's buses are valued by public transit riders like Travis Crawford.
Without them, I don't think I would have made it so far in this city. And without a car, I don't think so.
These drivers are union members. And according to the president of the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1091, they voted in late June to be prepared to go on strike for what they call unfair pay and lack of training for the maintenance department.
I would say 75 to 80% of my workforce can't afford to live in Austin. Austin is a very expensive place to live, and so we felt we should be treating accordingly.
These drivers aren't employed by Cap Metro, but rather through a third-party contractor named Keolis. In a statement, the company told KVUE in part, quote, "We believe we have offered fair wage increases and remain in active negotiations as we get closer to reaching an agreement that is in the best interests of all stakeholders." With the possible strike looming, we asked Austinites who take the bus how this would impact their day-to-day lives.
Wow, that's scary because, I mean, a lot of us rely on them. I have a 1-year bus pass right now through like a Service Point and through like Sunrise. And to me, I'm being homeless right now on the streets, and I really need to get around the city a lot.
I drive in from Dripping Springs, and I park here, and then I get on the bus and take it into downtown. The stop is real near my office, and it's very convenient for me. I'm able to save a little money on gas and not have to pay for parking at UT.
We asked Cap Metro what would happen if drivers go on strike. A spokesperson says it has a plan, but didn't provide details.
We do not want to hurt the public. My kids ride the bus system. I have friends that ride the bus system. I don't want to impede anybody from getting to work, getting to school. But this is our only recourse.
Payne says his members keep the city moving, but that could come to a pause depending on future negotiations. In Austin, Jose Alonso, KVUE News.
And the union president says he's scheduled to meet with Keolis tomorrow morning to talk about the ways to prevent a strike. We asked if they don't come to an agreement when strikes would take place. He did not publicly disclose a timeline, but he says that the walkout would happen across the city. On Thursday afternoon, Austin City Manager T.C. Broadnax laid out his proposed $6.6 billion operating budget. He and other city staff say they're balancing cuts and investments.
And it is a balance. It's a balance that we'll look at every year as we're looking at what the additional priorities are or what new priorities come up versus being able to continue that needed revenue for not just the current fiscal year again, but future years.
The budget cuts $5.8 million in spending on software and IT support. It puts an additional $6 million toward permanent supportive housing services for people exiting homelessness. And it boosts funding for fire and EMS overtime pay. Over the next several weeks, Austin City Council will take feedback on the proposed budget. They plan to finalize it in mid-August. This week, it was reported that ICE will temporarily pause most vehicle stops. This comes after 2 deadly shootings in Houston and Maine within 6 days of each other. In the meantime, local advocates are pushing county leaders for more transparency and restrictions on how ICE operates here. KVUE's Adam Bennett has more.
As rain fell outside Tuesday morning, ice filled the conversation inside one local government building.
We're living through all of this right now.
Alejandro Cáceres is one of the founders of Austin's Sanctuary Network. It's one of several groups that showed up at Travis County Commissioner's Court on Tuesday, asking them to push back or speak out against ICE tactics.
They are using city grounds, county grounds to not only arrest people, but also process them and sort of stage scouting areas.
It's the same message from their protest outside the Commissioner's Court building the previous week. That came after an ICE agent shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Houston. ICE has said it was self-defense after they say Salgado rammed a law enforcement vehicle with his van and tried to run over an ICE agent. But on Tuesday in Washington, D.C., Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia of Houston,
what would you do if you were chased by an armed marked van?
Says 2 of the 3 men detained at the scene told her there was not an ICE agent standing in front of the van when the shooting occurred.
Now, you don't have to be a rocket science to know that you can't run somebody over if that person is not in front of the van.
She called for stricter oversight of ICE. Back in Austin, Cáceres
is trying to figure out how to highlight the individual cases.
Says he's looking for ways to expand legal access for immigrants, local and national fronts in this ongoing political storm.
And that was Adam Bennett reporting. An ICE spokesperson told KVUE this week, quote, "We are always evaluating our procedures to keep our officers safe and criminals off the streets. We will not disclose or discuss law enforcement tactics," end quote. Air traffic controllers at Austin's airport are ditching paper strips for a modern digital upgrade. Moving forward, crews will use electronic flight strips that provide real-time data and streamline flight planning. The new system is meant to boost safety. It'll also help controllers handle changing traffic volumes and shifting airfield conditions more efficiently. Austin city leaders are looking to commission artists for different pieces of public art. They're seeking artists for projects at the Asian American Resource Center Pavilion, a suspended piece of work at the Northeast Service Center, and multiple pieces of artwork along roads. Selected artists will receive budgets between $90,000 and $300,000 to complete their projects. Those involved say the program keeps creativity visible to everyone without needing a museum ticket. Applications are due August 3rd. We have much more information on how to apply at our website, kvue.com/links. A Bastrop resident is the latest Central Texan to win big in the Powerball. An anonymous player bought a winning ticket for $1 million at a Circle K on State Highway 71 during the July 8th drawing. The store could earn a $10,000 bonus for selling that ticket. That follows a $20 million jackpot win in Leander back in May. Happening now in downtown Austin, Hot Summer Nights is back for a weekend of free live music. The annual event will feature more than 130 local artists, bands, and DJs performing at more than a dozen venues. Organizers say the festival helps support local musicians, independent venues, and small businesses during the summer slow season. That'll do it for us here in Austin. It's been great having you along. Hope you have a great day.
I'm Leslie Adamy. As devastating flooding continues to impact communities across parts of Texas, the same storm system is also being closely watched here in South Texas. After months of a water crisis that has drawn statewide and national attention, many are looking to the forecast with mixed emotions, wondering what this could mean for our region's water supply. Natalia Osuna spoke with city leaders navigating that delicate balance.
Recent rains are delivering 2 very different realities across Texas. Devastation for some communities in the Hill Country and potential relief for parts of the coastal bend.
I know the city of Kerrville is completely closed, the government operation. So we do care about that and care about them, and we're here to help them if they need the help. At the same time, that water has to go somewhere, and that's how our watershed works.
City Manager Peter Zanoni explaining how water makes its way down from the Nueces and Frio rivers to the city's water system.
Hopeful that a lot of that water does make it down. It's going to take a couple of weeks, the water experts tell us, for all that water to get from the Kerrville area, Hondo area, to our 2 reservoirs in the west. We'll be monitoring it daily, and we'll be reporting to the region here, the community.
That sentiment is shared by Councilman Gil Hernandez.
It'll give us a little more time to do things and bring things online slowly. We're not having to overpay for rushing projects. So I think that, but ultimately we still need to do those projects in order to diversify our water sources.
Anticipating the heavy rain, city staff is already taking steps to secure water that reaches nearby reservoirs.
We do have a request into TCEQ to give us a one-time reprieve, because once the reservoirs do hit 30% combined, we have to do environmental releases.
And if things go according to plan, Mayor Paulette Guajardo says that could be a big step towards scaling back to stage 2 drought restrictions.
Today we are at 15%, and one of my highest priorities is getting our community back to level 2 drought restrictions as soon as conditions safely allow, because this is going to require, again, the combined reservoir storage to reach 30%. We need to be able to water our grass.
That was Natalia Osuna reporting. And as the flood response continues across Texas, a Coast Guard rescue swimmer stationed in Corpus Christi says he'll be heading back up to help. Petty Officer Scott Ruskin making that announcement while accepting one of sport's highest honors at the ESPYs. Ruskin received the Pat Tillman Award for service after helping to save over 160 lives during the devastating Texas Hill Country floods July of last year.
I just really want to express that there was a lot of heroes that day that aren't getting an ESPY award. The campers and the camp counselors who were able to help each other out of the floodwater in the middle of the night, hours before I ever showed up or any other rescue crew showed up. Callie and the other girls, you guys are alive today because of your own bravery and your quick action. Those guys actually saved way more lives than we did. It took a complete army of people to get this done. And of course, still, our hearts go out to the 28 people that lost their lives that day and their families. I think about you guys all the time. Again, if the stage behind me was big enough and we had enough tickets, there would be 100 people standing behind me today that saved lives, many of whom are working now in a current flood mission going on in Texas. And I'm back on duty Friday. I will be back there.
A much-deserved and well-deserved recognition there. Our best wishes to Petty Officer Scott Ruskin and all first responders answering the call from all of us here in South Texas.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. Flock safety cameras are at the center of a growing debate. Are they helping keep communities safe or going too far? Our Adrian Alexander spoke with a law enforcement consultant about the benefits they say flock cameras provide and a national civil liberties group that raises concerns about their use.
Law enforcement agencies have installed flock cameras across Central Texas.
Cameras have been around for years and years and years and years. This isn't new.
Law enforcement consultant Joseph Scaramucci told me the license plate scanning system serves as another tool helping police solve crimes.
It obviously provides a lot of information to law enforcement and other entities that are generally based around the vehicle, whether that's the license plate, the vehicle identifiers.
In about 10 months, the Killeen Police Department reports that officers have recovered 23 stolen vehicles and made 55 arrests involving theft, robbery, weapons violations, and violent crimes with the help of flock cameras.
I think there's a lot of misconception about what surveillance actually is versus just the recording going on.
On the flip side, advocacy groups say the flock cameras are a growing privacy concern.
Everyone in the U.S. should be able to travel without having their
activities monitored constantly by the government.
Nick Hudson with the American Civil Liberties Union of Texas says the cameras do far more data collecting than they should.
The cameras don't just collect information on people suspected of crimes. They collect information on everyone, every car that passes, logging the movements of every driver.
Hudson says that creates a possibility of government overreach and misuse.
And what this enables is a government that can watch your movements in secret.
But Scaramucci, along with other supporters, say cases like that represent the misuse of a tool, not the tool itself.
That's a fraction of the utilization. The intent is not malicious.
The ACLU of Texas says it would like to see communities remove flock cameras altogether or at least require much shorter data retention periods. Meanwhile, several local law enforcement agencies say the cameras continue to help solve crimes, recover stolen vehicles, and find missing people. For nearly 30 years, the murder of a Waco man has remained unsolved, but now investigators say new DNA technology and the public's help could finally lead to answers. Our Juliana Jackson spoke with the detective reopening the case and the daughter who's never given up hope.
I've been waiting for this moment. I've been waiting for there to be some light on what happened to him.
In 1999, neighbors went to check on 53-year-old Johnny C. Black after they hadn't seen him for over a day. But inside his home on Seneca Drive, they found him dead and stabbed multiple times. And the killer has never been found.
Some of the details is the manner of his death, how he was murdered is the main thing. The fact that the house was ransacked as if somebody was looking for something. Those are some concerns of mine.
The investigation eventually became a cold case, but Detective Reyes with the Waco Police Department says cold doesn't mean forgotten. Black's case is one of 144 unsolved homicides assigned to Waco PD's cold case unit.
Received a call from one of the family members of Mr. Black, and she was asking about the case, and I kind of informed her of the process of how these cases are being investigated. So that's what started the process on this case.
That call was from Black's daughter, Jamantha Rayburn.
I didn't ever give up on him, and I've always called and always checked on him, and any information they needed, I aided in that.
One of the biggest differences between this investigation in 1999 and today is technology.
The evidence can be resent and retested and possibly get some new leads.
Black's daughter says the memory of seeing her father after his death is something she'll never forget.
And if people knew the details of how his body was taken apart, they will understand why I'm still calling and checking on him. Nobody should be done like that. Nobody.
For Rayburn, she hopes reopening this case will finally bring her family something they've been waiting for. Answers.
Is anybody out there that have any information about Johnny C. Black that lived at 1804 Seneca, please call in. You will be anonymous.
And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Here's your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. A fifth person's been arrested in connection to the 2022 disappearance of Joshua Larkin. Jasper County investigators saying Hank Jones was taken into custody Wednesday after they found him hiding in the attic of a Kirbyville home. Now, nearly 4 years after Larkin's disappearance, investigators say that they are not slowing down until his family gets closure. And while they continue searching for his remains, his family says they are holding on to hope. They say that they are praying that this arrest could finally bring them some answers. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato speaking with the family.
We know that he has the final answer. He knows where my brother is.
Nearly 4 years after Joshua Larkin disappeared, his family believes they may be one step closer to bringing him home.
There's power in prayers. I send them up daily, and we have a lot of prayer warriors out there, and we're confident that we're going to find Josh.
Prayers for good news after authorities arrested 34-year-old Hank James Jones for tampering with physical evidence in connection to Larkin's disappearance, marking the fifth arrest in the case after 4 others were arrested earlier this year. While authorities have not found Joshua's remains, his family believes this latest arrest could be a breakthrough.
Even though they're incarcerated, they still don't have the common decency to give her closure and bring her son home. And that's all we want. Just bring Josh home. That's it.
Larkin has been missing since November of 2022. It's a case Newton and Jasper County agencies have worked side by side on for almost 4 years.
Yeah, I want the family to know that we're not going to stop, whether we hit a dead-end road or not. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep working to make sure this family, has closure, and the persons responsible are brought to justice.
It's teamwork that will continue to pay off.
Circling back to other people due to new information surfacing, others that have been untruthful with us, so there will be more charges and arrests made in the near future.
Nearly 4 years after Joshua vanished, his family continues to plead to anyone still keeping secrets.
Let us know the smallest bit of information. They may think it's nothing. It could be something. It could be the missing piece of the puzzle. Just let it be known.
That was Spencer Plato reporting. Investigators say that the search for Larkin's remains is still active. They are asking anyone with information to contact the Newton County Sheriff's Office, the Jasper County Sheriff's Office, or Crime Stoppers. Well, Beaumont city leaders, they are looking at some tough choices as they work to balance the city's upcoming budget. Now, during a third public budget work session Wednesday morning, council members, they discussed options to address a growing deficit beyond the current hiring freeze. City employees and neighbors, they filled the room there waiting to hear how leaders plan to close that budget gap. 12 News reporter Daniela Tapuata-Palau, she attended the session.
At the end of the day, we need to make sure that the city functions properly. And the things that we do to keep the city running continue to do. So continue to happen.
Tough decisions are ahead for Beaumont City Council. During Wednesday's budget workshop, leaders weighed their options as they work to close a growing budget deficit. And for some residents, one question stands out.
Where are we going to get the money from?
City Manager Christopher Boone says the city has until September to finalize its next budget, and no option is off the table. According to a water and sewer rate study presented during the workshop, one possibility is raising wastewater rates for residents and possibly senior citizens, an option Councilmember Corey Crenshaw disagreed with.
I would be against a wastewater increase for our residents or our residential accounts and look at an increase only on the industrial and commercial side.
But Councilwoman LaDonna Sherwood says the city has to be realistic.
We need to be honest about what we are going to be facing with the community. Feeling good and not wanting to say or do certain things is cute, but in reality, what are we facing when we say no increase to rates?
Council also has to consider possibly some healthcare reductions for city employees. Aside from the current hiring freeze, Boone hopes will be over by April when the city will be conducting a fiscal year 2027 mid-year review. And resident Carlton Sharp says whatever decisions are made, city leaders need to remember one thing.
How does the decisions that they make today impact the average citizen in Beaumont?
That was Daniela Tapuata-Palau reporting. The city manager there, Chris Boone, says that his goal for the city is to improve its budget by fiscal year 2028. He also wants to keep the fund balance at $35 million, or at least a minimum of $30 million. And those were the headlines here from Southeast Texas.
Hi, I'm Dan Millay, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. 2 more people accused in an alleged immigration transportation operation in East Texas appeared in federal court. They're now the 3rd and 4th defendants to face a judge following an FBI operation. CBS 19's Jesus Martinez was in federal court and shares what a former FBI agent says could be next.
The final 2 defendants named in a federal indictment appeared before a judge Thursday, accused of transporting and harboring undocumented immigrants. Arturo Alcantar Perez and Guillermo Limon Sanchez both pleaded not guilty during separate hearings at the federal courthouse in Tyler. Cameras were not allowed inside, but both men appeared in handcuffs wearing red and white Gray County Jail uniforms, with a translator helping them throughout the proceedings. In total, 4 defendants are charged in this case following an FBI operation last month at Jimenez Furniture Shop. Weeks later, the business is still closed, and the parking lot sits empty. A sign outside says they will be open soon. Federal prosecutors say all 4 suspects are accused of conspiracy to transport and harbor undocumented immigrants. The indictment also accuses Virginia Gomez of trafficking false identification documents, while Gomez and Gayle Valdivia face a money laundering conspiracy charge. Richard Kolko is a retired FBI agent.
Well, if you take a look at the indictment, we see the different charges that are going on here. It may have been bringing some people across the border, providing them some documentation, but then potentially forcing them to work.
He says building a federal case like this often relies on collecting multiple pieces of evidence, including interviews from potential victims.
But it's often difficult to get these people to cooperate, to talk to the agents.
And says investigators may also be looking beyond the people already charged to determine whether others are involved.
So the FBI would like to dig deeper into this, find out if there's somebody higher up the chain. Is there a larger case behind the curtain?
Now, since Alcantar Perez is a Mexican citizen, he will be detained until his trial starts. As for Limon Sanchez, the government called him a flight risk, and he will also be detained until his trial starts. Both of those are expected to start in late August. In Tyler, I'm Jesus Martinez.
The East Texas archery community is remembering a mentor, coach, and friend after a tragic plane crash yesterday afternoon. Steve Good, a Texas Field Archery Association board member and District 7 field governor, died Tuesday after a plane crash near FM 3227 and FM 47 in Van Zandt County. Good spent years introducing young people to archery while also helping lead the Texas Field Archery Association. Friends and former students say he was always willing to share his knowledge, encourage others, and give back to his community any chance he got.
I wouldn't be where I am today in the sport or just in life in general if it wasn't for him. He was such an amazing role model and coach.
Good also served on the association's board of directors, helping organize students and scholarship programs while supporting archers across East Texas. Texas Field Archery Association President Mark Tanner, who worked alongside him, says he was someone people could always count on, and his dedication to serving others will leave a lasting legacy.
You could always count on Steve to be there if you needed help. And everyone on the board and everyone in the membership that knew him is going to miss him.
Crash is currently being investigated by the FAA and DPS as the circumstances are still unknown. Good's family requests that anyone wanting to show support can donate to the TFAA Scholarship Fund. And that's a wrap for your East Texas headlines. I'm Dan Millay.